Hey y'all, it is Kathryn Massell, Elevated Consciousness Coach, 5D Visionary, Timeline Healer, Time Bender. I wanted to bring some energy forward that is pretty intense in the collective right now and talk about it in a way where I can hopefully shine a light on what's going on. We're in the midst of some major energy surges right now. And one of the things that is going on is we're having these major disruptor timelines playing out. And I want to tell you quickly about what you can do with that and kind of give you some perspective on it, really. And wanted to let you know that we go into this in a lot more depth when we talk about false timelines, because that's what Distractor and Disruptor Timelines are. We go into this in a lot more depth and detail in the Timelines Expanded Masterclass, which is starting a week from today. So if you want to join, there's only about 4 spots left, and the price goes up after this live round. The next time I teach it in April, it's going to be almost double the price. So get in there if you can. If this intrigues you, this is really a one-of-a-kind program to learn how to work with time and timelines more naturally in a tangible and practical way to completely shift the entire fabric of your reality. That is not an overstatement, by the way. It is very hands-on, and you get a lot of support, a lot of guidance in here, and it's really going to blow your mind, and your level of perception is just going to be blown wide open. So there's my little plug. I want to talk about what Distractor and Disruptor Timelines are. Now, I could spend hours and hours talking about this, so I will do my best to distill the information here down to its essence so you can understand more of the background of what Disruptor Timelines are, what they are, how they operate, and how we participate in the conflict and contrast that these timelines provide for us. So, Disruptor and Distractor timelines, what are they? They are false timelines. So let's just say, because I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole here, for the sake of argument, there are certain timelines that are part of the 3D space-time reality bubble, the space-time matrix, that are created and perpetuated within this paradigm of consciousness that are not aligned with, let's just say, the highest and best good of humanity. They could be also talked about as being trickster timelines. False timelines are an artificial part of the false ascension matrix that, yes, we are participating in, not consciously, but unconsciously, and we are being invited to be conscious of what we're participating in these timelines. This is one of the reasons why I'm teaching Timelines Expanded Masterclass, because it is part of our natural path of ascension to wake up to what is happening to us when we participate in false timelines like Distractor and Disruptor timelines. These false timelines are, let's just say, part of an agenda that is promoted to keep humanity asleep, to keep us from waking up, because it's not in everyone's best interest to have humanity be woke, to have humanity be self-realized, self-actualized, and acting not only in our best interest, but in the highest and best interest of all. That means that these false timelines that are playing out keep the power loci, or the locus of power, in the hands of certain people who are not in the highest and best integrity, okay? And these false timelines do not exist in a vacuum, okay? Timelines can only exist with our active participation in them. Because without humans to kind of drive the bus of a timeline, there would be no need for timelines at all, okay? I know that's a lot to wrap your head around, but just go with me here. Try to stay with me here and listen from here instead of maybe from up here. So this provides us these false timelines. Everything is part of a bigger order. So as you take this information in, try to take it with a grain of salt that even though I'm talking about something, I'm kind of picking and choosing something to talk about that's a niche part of timelines or time, the nature of time as a whole, this is part of a bigger order. in the universe. This is part of a bigger ascension matrix. This stuff has to play out for us in order for us to ascend, okay? So false timelines, like Distractor and Disruptor Timelines, provide the polarization. Sorry, I'm going to kick my dog out. Finny, please. False timelines provide the polarization and the duality that we came here, we incarnated in physical form here to explore, okay? This is a learning experience, being in a body, being on Mother Earth, being a part of the electromagnetic energy here, having thought and emotional and physical fields that resonate within the Earth construct means that we are part of the 3D time matrix and everything that goes along with it. So we're playing a game here. And in order for us to ascend or move to, let's just say, a next elevated level of consciousness, we kind of have to go through the game first. We have to go through the levels. Those of you who are gamers, you know what I'm talking about, okay? So these false timelines provide us with this polarization, this duality of, and I'm going to share this in my group. I don't know why I'm not sharing this in my group. Let's just say, let me share it in my timelines. Time Benders and Timeline Healers groups. You guys can watch too. Okay. Time Benders and Timeline Healers is the private group community for Timelines Expanded Masterclass. Hello, everyone who's joining. Hi, Julie. Hi, Benita. I don't see who else. Camerlina. Hello. Hello. So what is the purpose of having these polarizations, these dualities play out and us participating in this game? Because it can either wake us up or it allows us to go deeper into the illusion of separation, of conflict, okay? We go one of two ways. This is the polarization, this is the duality that we're here to explore as part of this, being part of this 3D time-space bubble of reality, okay? Disruptor and distractor energy and timelines are part of false timelines. It's part of the game that we're here to play, to participate in. Because only through going through this process and experiencing the contrast and the conflict do we come away with less of the ego self perspective and more of the higher self perspective, which is what we're all striving for. Those of us who are really on this path of awakening as part of the ascension trajectory, this is really truly what you're asking for, to be in the perspective of your higher self avatar, okay? This is what we're moving towards. So the purpose of these distractor and disruptor timelines is it's here to help us sort through the contrast, through the conflict, and establish a new equilibrium, because that's what happens when we come out of the other side of this game. Okay, you guys with me so far? Hey, Dina, give me a heart if you guys are with me. So we learn how to make choices less and less. Like, we get tired of the game, or hopefully as we're wrapping up a lot of and culminating a lot of 3D timelines here, lifetimes timelines that have been playing out over and over. Many of you are aware that you've been here playing this game lots and lots of times now. You're going through, you know, these last steps of saying, you know what, I've gone through the motions on this like probably hundreds of times, tens of times. I'm done. I finally get the lesson. I finally get to see where if I play out this scenario and make this choice or this decision from the ego self, I'm going to end up with the same freaking thing every single time. It's not going to change, right? What's the definition of insanity? Making the same choices, you know, aligning with the same thoughts, the same behaviors over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome. It's like we're finally getting it now. And so we realize in order to opt out of the game is to go to that part of self, that point of view, that POV, the lens of the higher self, to start making choices from that level of perspective. Because only then are you going to end up with a different set of circumstances as part of the end game, okay? So we have to go through this game of the polarization. We have to go through this game of the duality. And it is a game, trust me. Because here's the truth. The higher self aspect of you knows that you're playing this game. The higher self avatar or aspect of you knows that you are going through these motions and that you have to go through these motions to finally align all of your points of perspective with the higher self avatar of you. Okay? That's the game. Okay? So why do we need and what is the purpose of these distractor and disruptor timelines? And don't worry, I'm going to give you examples of what those are in a minute. The purpose is it's here to help us sort through the contrast, sort through the conflict, and establish that new equilibrium. What is the equilibrium? When we fully align all thoughts, beliefs, energy fields, all of our morphogenetic fields of experience here as we're in a third dimensional body with the higher self avatar. Okay? All of this is polarized by our own choices. Our choices that are based on beliefs, based on attitudes, based on opinions, the point of view of the individuated consciousness, which is alternately known as the ego self. When we keep making choices and decisions from this point of view, we're going to end up with the same set of experiences. And what we do is we loop through a certain bandwidth of consciousness over and over and over and over again. That's why some of you who are waking up in this lifetime, as you're wrapping up the entire history of all your 3D lifetimes and timelines, you're wrapping them up now, many of you in this particular lifetime, some of you in this year. And that's why some of it feels so powerful, so overwhelming, like you're literally collapsing from within. You're not. You're anchoring in a new operating system, okay? This breakdown is leading to a breakthrough. Believe me, especially if you're on this path, especially if you are feeling called to more spiritual awakening, especially if you feel called to what everything that ascension talks about and is, you feel called to exploring more of that, you are most likely in a culmination timeline and you're feeling this wrap up, okay? So the wrapping up means you're not making the same choices from ego illusion, from that POV of your individuated consciousness, but rather moving towards making choices and decisions in your highest and best self-interest, but also within the highest and best interest of all and with the least amount of resistance for all involved. This is the trajectory. This is the pathway. Making the me choice and making the choice that I just explained. The choice that it is in your highest and best self-interest, the highest and best self-interest of all with the least amount of resistance for all involved. This is the trajectory. That's the bell curve, okay? That's what we're moving towards, okay? So what is, well, I want to say this real quick. When we do this, we keep making the same choices. We're not learning the lessons. We are not wrapping up those timelines, collapsing those timelines and dissolving them by making a different set of choices from that higher self avatar POV. What we're going to do is just keep looping through the same level of consciousness. That is why false timelines like disruptor and distractor timelines are consciousness traps, okay? We are literally trapped in a certain bandwidth or spectrum of vibration, of consciousness, and staying there. If we don't see what these false timelines are, see how we are participating in them, because like I said, no timeline exists in a vacuum. No timeline can exist without our active participation in perpetuating it, okay? So let me give you some examples. And you could probably think of your own right off the bat. You know, there are certain people who are anchoring in the energy of disruptor and distractor timelines, okay? These can be corporations, they can be individual people. They can be certain things that are playing out, pestilence, war, the military-industrial war machine, politics, religion, medicine. All of these things help to contribute to false timelines, but they don't exist in a vacuum. We need to be able to actively participate with these timelines in order for them to exist. When we stop actively participating, when we pull our attention, awareness, and focus, the outrage away and neutralize the energy by focusing on the highest and best timeline for all, we neutralize, collapse, dissolve those timelines. We go into this a lot more in the Timelines Expanded course when we talk about false timelines. But this consciousness loop is being perpetuated by those who are, let's just say, anchoring disruptor and distractor timelines. Now, I'm not one to watch award ceremonies, but I was reading some of the highlights of the gentleman who hosted the Golden Globe Awards ceremony last night. And he wasn't so much playing the role of a host. His name is Ricky Gervais, kind of a controversial host. And he wasn't so much playing the role of a host so much as he was roasting the entire Hollywood establishment and picking out key, top name celebrities and calling them out for their hypocrisy, calling out the entire Hollywood establishment for its hypocrisy, and really, piercing the veil of this this membranous bubble of reality that is Hollywood, where people claim to be woke and aware, but at the same time, there's a lot of hypocrisy. This is true of many establishments. It's not just Hollywood. There are many, many establishments, and many of us who are carrying the hypocrisy, but also trying to, do our best in this world. But it's part of the contrast here. Again, it's part of the polarity. It's part of the duality. But what was really hilarious to me is how he was calling out unapologetically so much of the Hollywood establishment and so many key players in that, literally calling them out by name and making jokes and making fun and poking a hole into basically a pretty bloated and self-congratulatory community of people. And so that is disruptor energy. No matter what you think about him doing that, or him, how tasteful his jokes were, or who he was singling out, or how he was singling people out, he was using this as a forum to be a disruptor, okay? Now, whatever your opinion is on either side of that, I don't care. I don't care. Sorry, not sorry. It's not about that. It's about, again, what I talked about, this polarization, where when we are in this disruptor timeline, this distractor timeline, and there are so many disruptor and distractor timelines playing out right now, because to be quite honest, there's quite a lot of contrast and conflict to disrupt, okay? So you're going to see people playing this role of the disruptor, the distractor. No matter what side of the aisle you fall on, whether you like that person or you don't like that person, you're going to see this more and more. And why is this important? What purpose does this serve in the greater, role of the universal energy matrix in establishing this equilibrium? It is forcing you to make a choice, to either choose to be in the higher self point of view where you're seeing that this is part of a greater order. I don't need to make a choice that is placed in outrage, that is anchored in hatred, that is anchored in that person is separate from me because I believe this, that, and the other thing. You are either waking up to seeing the bigger picture, or you are going further into the illusion of separation and conflict. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Are you guys following me? And there's comments and questions. Jennifer says, I have a question about disruptor energy, and perhaps you will address this. It wasn't energy, it was attempting to disrupt my work, but I felt that this was more like a psychic hook situation. However, perhaps it was myself that created this. I'm not looking into that too deeply right now and right here in this space, because I'm trying to be in a neutral space as I do this. So if I divert my focus, I can't really look. But I'm going to answer that for you on Messenger, Jennifer, okay? Because that requires me to look a little bit deeper at what you're talking about. And Dina says, consciousness loops are coming to a head. Yes, absolutely. The consciousness loops are coming to a head because we're reaching this culmination when we're really starting to wake up. Because those of you on that side of this polarization who are choosing to see this stuff as an opportunity to wake up further and see the bigger order that's playing out here, are choosing not to go into that ego self and saying, you know what, but I believe this. And I was brought up, where my God and my religious community taught me how to believe this. And all of these things that really anchor us in these consciousness loops from our attitudes, our opinions, these rigid constructs of thought and belief that are keeping us anchoring these consciousness loops, these consciousness traps, okay? So there's Ricky Gervais, and there's that. So I hope that's a good example so you can understand disruptor energy. So there is also disruptor and distractor energy. Are these the same? Not always, but they tend to overlap. So another person that we can talk about here, this should be obvious to many of you, Donald Trump, who happens to be currently the President of the United States. I am not here to engage in political debate. If you want to engage with me politically on this, you are missing the whole point of what I'm talking about, and that is not what this forum is about, okay? Donald Trump is a polarizing figure. no matter where your opinions lie on him, how you think of him as a president, how you think of him as a person, I don't care. Again, I don't care. That's not what we're talking about here. You would have to agree with me on this, and we can find some common ground. He is a distractor and he is a disruptor, okay? Whether it's for his own gain or someone else's gain, we're not going to get into that either. That's not what this is about. It is about having an energy and someone who is such a powerful force of nature. Even no matter how you feel about Donald Trump, you have to agree with me. He is creating such a polarizing shift and rift and conflict that you have people on either sides who have very strong beliefs and opinions about who he is, okay? He is someone that is here to anchor something that is part of a bigger order. Do we know what that is? No. Because we are playing out the first, well, we're really in kind of the second wave of ascension here, where this stuff is starting to anchor that is going to play out for lifetimes after, long after we're gone, okay? So we can't see the full scope of this. And people who do predictions and things like that, you know, be wary of who's saying what about what's going to happen 300 years from now. There are so many variables and timelines here that we're talking about that it's kind of an unrealistic projection into the future. But what we can all agree on and what we can work on right now, because we want to work on stuff that we actually have the power to influence and change right now. So how do we do that? We have to look at the bigger order and see that, okay, here is someone who's an incredibly polarizing figure who creates such an incredible amount of conflict and contrast. And what is he doing? He's allowing us to see exactly where we are separating, where we are creating conflict in all of humanity, where we're saying, he said, she said, this is right, that is wrong, this is black, this is white, this is good, this is bad. This is an exploration in contrast. And what is it doing? What purpose does it serve? Again, it is either waking us up to allow us to see the bigger order of something that's playing out, that is part of something that extends far beyond what we can see or know from our current vantage point of consciousness, or it is allowing us to go deeper into the illusion of separation. So always and ever, what we are being asked to explore by the more divine nature in the universal energy matrix is for us to make a choice based on discernment of where we want to pierce right through the middle of that veil of polarity and take the middle path and choose neutrality. Because when we are choosing a path in neutrality, when we are calm in our hearts and our minds, we are making choices based on discernment rather than judgment. Now, there's a lot more to talk about here. There is so much more to explore. And if this intrigues you, we are going to go deeper down the rabbit hole with this in Timelines Expanded Masterclass. This information is so timely, pardon the pun, because this is where we're at this stage of the ascension process. It is not just about opting into the higher frequency hubs of kindness, compassion, mercy, forgiveness, understanding. It is that. But it is just as much about opting out of these old paradigms, rigid belief constructs, consciousness traps, false timelines, distractor energies, being able to see that for what it is, being able to see it at face value, and being able to discern greater choices in our lives and for the lives of all of humanity, with the least amount of resistance for all involved, from a vantage point of a higher self avatar. This is possible right now. This is accessible right now. But we need to kind of fortify our knowledge base to understand what's really going on. And that's what I'm inviting you to do and explore with me. This is going to be such an incredible class. I keep adding new people to this class that I'm so excited to work with because they are people that I admire, like Marianne, like Dina, like Courtney, like Allison, like Alicia, like Jennifer, so many that are waking up, so many that we are on this journey together. And when we collaborate and bring our energy together in communion of thought, of prayer, of action, of behavior, of new belief systems, of anchoring new paradigms and ways of being, we do this work together, we blow the collective of humanity into the next hub or frequency of ascended consciousness. We are downloading this information to the collective when we come together as a group and do this. So very thankful for this class. Round 1 was excellent. Man, hold on to your hats because round 2 is going to be awesome. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. I know that's a lot to think about. This is a lot to, bite off and chew, but that's important because this is expanding our consciousness when we think about things in this way, okay? So I'm going to leave you with that. Have a beautiful night, everybody. I'm going to leave the link to join Timelines Expanded Masterclass below. When you click on the link, you can read a full description of the course. You can learn more about it, read the testimonials from actual members of the first live round, and get yourself signed up. It's $497, or there's a payment plan of 2 payments of $277. Mwah! Love and peace to you all. Bye-bye.